80% of the sales are made after the fifth contact. And the thing that when we launched this, we live here, we work here, we give back here campaign, we were wanting to show how we've made an impact on the community and how we are good community stewards, but also that because we live here and we work here, we are your resource. And so we gave a lot of value. We made a lot of contribution in a very creative way. And that has been very beneficial as well.
Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. This week, we have an amazing guest. We have a lot of mutual acquaintances, and I was just introduced to her in her Rise Up community. I loved her energy. I just loved her vibe. And it's amazing how you can just meet somebody and you kind of get along right away with them. And let's welcome to the show this week, Miss Karen Briscoe. How you doing today, Karen?
Hey, I'm definitely inspired by being on your show, Daniel.
No, well, thank you for being here. I love to get people here. And, one thing I love is I admire women who take action. And I like women who just really stand out because I feel my wife herself, she was real bashful, real kind of like, let me take the front seat and just kind of take the limelight to say. But I love it when I see a woman as yourself really go out there and just, you're so successful in the business that you do. And I really want our audience just to learn so much because not only just do you bring a lot of value in life, but I was just going over your bio and everything and how successful you are just in business. And I think there's more women out there that really need to take more action. And one of those is my wife. So that's why when we were talking about having you as a guest on my show, I was just super excited because I think when my wife listens to this episode, she's going to really realize I can be a successful businesswoman because there's no limitations. So do me a favor, Karen, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself to our audience here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show?
Yes, absolutely. And if I can do it, you can too, as can your wife. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I, after college, worked for a commercial real estate developer actually in Dallas, Texas, the Trammell Crow companies, and was in dirt. We would buy land and put in streets and utilities and sell lots to home builders. And I met my husband there in Dallas, a Texan, and had our two kids. And his career took us to the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. suburbs. And I stayed home and was a primary caregiver for our children for over a dozen years. And so kind of back to the story, if I could do it, you can too. When I was wanting to re-enter the workforce in a full-time manner, I went back into commercial real estate because that was my background. And I actually worked for the Staubach Company, another Texan, Roger Staubach, had the real estate account for the Nextel company. So I remember telecom. And so I worked with the real estate team that did the sales, engineering, and warehouse offices. Well, that was it right around the 2000 tech bust. And if you remember what happens, if you think about what happens when there's, markets are correcting and going down, there's a lot of assets are being disposed of. There isn't any money in it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So let me ask you a quick question. Did you say Trammell Crow? I know that
Yes.
corporation very well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big companies. So when that happened, I could have gone to work for Nextel, but I was like, I really didn't feel like this was the time to be in that industry. And so someone said, well, you have your real estate license. Why don't you do residential? And people who do commercial consider those to be the hard skills, the financial, being able to, structure a deal and do comparable analysis and negotiations and all of that. But the soft side is really more thought of as the residential side, where the people skills, where you deal with people's emotions and buying and selling a home. And I discovered that I have both sides.
Awesome.
I became successful pretty quickly. And so that started the trajectory of my business career.
Awesome. Well, the reason Trammell Crow caught my attention is you brought back some memories when you said that. That was a trigger in my brain. When I was young, actually right out of high school, I was 19 years old. I started working for a company called Plant Interscapes, and we did interior landscaping. And I worked my way up there here in San Antonio. I worked there for almost 10 years and they sent me to school. I actually got my degree in horticulture. And one of our big real estate clients here in San Antonio was Tramwell Crow. And we would always go to these buildings and it would say the name of the building, high rise, and then it would be like Tramwell Crow is the owning company. And I'd be like, Tramwell Crow, who's this? And next thing you know, you get in that real estate arena as far as the vendor side. So you learn these pretty quick. So when you said that, I was like, man, I remember when I was 19, that was 2 years ago.
Well, I knew you being a Texan would recognize some of those names. I knew you would probably recognize some of those names, but big names in real estate, and had the opportunity to really learn and grow a lot. But really, once I went over to the residential side, I was rookie of the year. And as often happens when you're being, successful, people take notice. And Sue Huckabee was number 10 in the nation at the time. She asked me to join her team and become her partner. And that was in '06. So in '06, you remember real estate was really hot and strong. Sadly, she passed away in '08, the same time as the financial markets crashed and real estate crashed as well. And so then I was left without a partner and set about to rebuild the business. And that's where a lot of the growth has happened.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome because right now I really want to get into the first part of the meat and potatoes part of our interview. I really want to just talk about, because you said a lot there as you traveled to DC, and I myself, I had the opportunity to move out of San Antonio many times and I just didn't because I love San Antonio and we almost moved to Dallas actually. But I can't imagine uprooting and going to DC and then just as busy as a town, as a state that district is. Where in your journey did Karen lose her confidence, whether it was in business or whether it was in life? Where was there a point where you kind of said, man, did we make the right decision? Did we make the right move coming to DC, or just in general in that real estate switch?
Well, it was a good decision for my husband's career because he did public policy. And when you do it well, you do it on a national level, and being in the nation's capital benefited him. It was challenging. I mean, we left family back in Texas and a lot of close friends. So the confidence, yes, of making that move. I will say that I love my children and I feel blessed and honored that I was able to stay home and be the primary caregiver for many of their years growing up. But at the same time, it wasn't my natural affinity. And I really found that the confidence that I gained when I started, I did a lot of volunteer work and it was very meaningful. But the real confidence came when I started meeting with success in business. And that in itself is kind of a positive self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You could have a positive loop, if you will. Some people, spiral negatively, but you can also spiral positively. And that really is what has led to, I feel, a lot of my success, even though there have been many challenges along the way as well.
Yeah, but tell us about that, because that's what I really I want somebody to take away some golden nuggets. So as far as the confidence, what did you do? Because, I mean, real estate isn't easy. Let's just be honest with it. I know many people, I think within, over 90% of real estate agents will quit within the first year, fail. And after 5 years, another 90% are going to fail. So if there's somebody out there, not just in real estate, but maybe in that sales industry that's really been thinking about, man, this is tough. What are some challenges? Give us a challenge that you faced in that first year of business, and how did you overcome that?
Well, the biggest challenge actually was later when in '08, when the financial markets crashed and my business partner passed away. And that was where it was really challenging because by that point in time, we had a pretty major business, with employees and staff and people that were looking to me for direction. And where I found confidence in that was one thing I felt like I really have the muscle memory of how to handle market corrections and recessions because I'd been in Texas during the savings and loan crisis and I'd seen what successful people who first survived it and then thrived through it did. And then I also experienced the correction. There was another correction in the 90s. If you'll remember, there was a recession. And then in the late 2000s with both the tech bust and the 9/11 event. And so that enabled me to put into place quickly some changes. In the Keller Williams, we call that from the Millionaire Real Estate book, the red light, green light. I immediately got serious about all of the expenses and made every expense accountable. Now, it also meant still investing in the things that were bringing in business. It wasn't like shutting everything down, but at the same time being very, very strategic. And I also made a decision to switch companies because I was with a regional firm and went to a large national, international firm, Keller Williams. And then I also brought on another business partner because what I found was that I work better in a team or collaborative setting. And I wanted to have the person the partner who passed, she had kind of waited at the end of her career and life to find someone to take over her business, to go into business with and take over. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do that differently.
I want to pause for a moment because you said something that I really want our business people to hone in on is you said you started watching your expenses, but you still invested. It's not that you froze. And I think elaborate more on that because I think right now it's a crucial part because we're going through this, coming out of this COVID, our economy is opening up. And it amazes me how many people are still frozen. And when you're frozen and when you kind of just step back and you don't do anything, that's one of the worst things you can do for your business. So I love that you said that during what you learned through the SNL crisis here that we had in Texas, and then also just through the different adversities, you learned that you had to watch expenses, but that you still had to invest in your business. And I think the biggest mistake that I see a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs right now in the season that we're in here with this corona crisis is they're not doing anything. They're not investing, not even $1. And it breaks my heart because I myself, I hired a new coach. I went out there and invested in just new software. So give us some information. Give us just go more in depth on that because I think people need to hear right now that, hey, it's not a time to scale back, to be fearful and not do anything. You still got to invest in yourself, but you got to be wise. So tell us a little bit more about that, Karen.
Well, I think you're spot on. Personal investment, personal development. Warren Buffett said that, the greatest investment is yourself. If you think about it, you are your best asset. My ability to create value and wealth is the greatest asset I have. And so that is definitely something that we put, resources into, time and money. And then really anything that has to do with client creation, customer creation, we look for ways that we can do it effectively and efficiently, not spend a lot of money on big marketing campaigns. We did adjust our rebrand and went to more of a digital push with videos and reaching out in those kind of methods. And there's always the personal touch. I'm a firm believer in committing to lead generation on a very consistent basis. And I find that a consistent touch with past clients and fear and referral partners that's what has the most impact.
Man, I love you even more now, Karen. I've said this, I heard this many, many, many years ago at a conference I went to. The fortune is in the follow-up.
It is.
And many people they hear it and it goes by their wayside. What Karen just said right now to our viewing audience right now is that the fortune is in the follow-up. I don't know how many clients I coach, Karen, and I say, well, how many times have you followed up with your clients that you've served? They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Have you sent them a birthday letter? Have you sent them just a Merry Christmas letter or some type of holiday card, anything? They're like, well, no, why? I'm like, you need to, because like you just said, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And nothing expresses how much you care like just a soft phone call, not a cell, but just, hey, how you doing? Just want to say hello, or just a card. I'm a big card person. I'm a big believer in send out cards. Mm-hmm. And we use it a lot. So I love that you said that. That's just huge. So thank you.
Yeah. There's a statistic my husband always reminds me of, and that is 80% of the sales is made after the fifth contact. And most people stop at one or two if you look at the statistics.
Say that again. Say that again. I love that.
80% of the sales are made after the fifth contact. And the thing that when we launched this, we live here, we work here, we give back here campaign, we were wanting to show how we've made an impact on the community and how we are good community stewards, but also that because we live here and we work here, we are your resource. And so we gave a lot of value. We made a lot of contribution. in a very creative way. And that has been very beneficial as well.
I love that, man. You're dropping so many golden nuggets right now. I hope y'all are out there right now taking notes. If you don't have a pen and paper with you right now, go out there and get a pen and paper, because I'm always going to say this in our episodes. Something magical happens when you put pen to paper. So take notes, because Karen is dropping some wisdom right now. The biggest takeaway I have so far, Karen, is the biggest asset is yourself. Boom! That's a boom right there, baby. Whoa!
Isn't that the truth? If you think about it, because if anything that is created out of what you have, what your contribution, your creativity, your resourcefulness, your contacts, all of that comes out of what your ability to create. So, yes, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Invest in Daniel.
I have a quote that goes with that, right? It's like the size of your business is going to be determined by the capacity of your mind. The size of your business is going to be determined by the capacity of your mind. And that's what you're saying. Your mind is your biggest asset. If you don't invest in it, what are you going to get? And man, woo! I'm just excited. You're just getting me pumped up here. I love talking about sales, and man. So let me ask you this, because you talked about you don't get the sale the first time, the second time. It's usually after the fifth time. I love that you said that. So how does someone become consistent in following up? How does someone become consistent in building that building? Give us what you did to be consistent, because I think a lot of businesses fail because they're not consistent the way they should be, Karen.
Absolutely. I use a very old-fashioned method. I started in 2002 when I went on the residential side. I just took a notebook and very low tech, wrote 1 through 25, so 5 per day. And it created this personal accountability loop, and I call it activity blocking. Many people advocate time blocking. The challenge with time is many people find ways to use the time to pass, but nothing actually takes place. And the benefit of the activity is that you can track it. So then you know how many times you've touched that person. And then once a client or customer starts to become engaged, then I work to mirror them one step ahead. So it's fascinating, because I really now kind of understand the science of this, but you can create a future commitment or a date with someone by offering something of value that you're going to give to them. And so it automatically creates this, follow through, follow up. Like, for example, I'm out showing a house and somebody asks a question. I think questions are actually buying signals. So it gives me something. Now, I may know the answer right then and I'll respond. But if I don't, it gives me something to follow up with.
Say that again. I think, hold up. I want to drop. That's boom. I'm picking up on all these, this sales language right away. When a customer asks questions, what are those? Those are buying signals. Write that one. Y'all need to be writing that stuff down. When a customer is asking questions, those are buying signals. I love that, Karen. Man, woo! Keep going.
And
Come on.
It gives you a reason to follow up with them. I mean, I think about things like I was out actually going to an open house on a Sunday, and I happened to run into an old neighbor. And she said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I like to keep up with the market." And she said, "Oh, that's really a good idea." And then we just talked about our kids and went on. And I got home and I thought to myself, I never offered her my service as a real estate agent. And I need to follow up with her on that. So I sent her an email and I said, "Debbie, I thought about it, and you may have a need for real estate. And I just wanted you to know that I am available to help you with that if you ever have someone." And she contacted me and she says, "I always thought you'd be too busy." And she did have a real estate need. And that really convicted me. This is why, Daniel, I realized it's my responsibility as a salesperson to follow up with people. So if anybody makes an inquiry about anything that has to do with real estate, then it's my responsibility to follow up with them, to give them the information they're asking for, or to offer my assistance.
Yes. I have a training when I put sales process and sales procedures for some of my business clients is, I say this is, you get 0% of the business you never asked for. Let me say it again. You get 0% of the business that you never asked for. And the problem is, some of us, we go through the whole presentation, we go through the whole spiel, and we never ask for the business. And that's what you're saying there. And I love it, man. You're dropping some wisdom here, Karen. We're going to have to come back and do just an encore on this one.
I love it because we still have some other seeds to talk about. I understand.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So continue going. So what else did you do to stay consistent in your business and in life? Tell us that. You talked about the action blocks. I love that. That's a great concept. What else did you do to just really be consistent? Because I believe if people are more consistent in their business, in their life, in every aspect, they're going to be more successful.
Well, and that's actually how the 5-Minute Success came about, the book Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, and then the Commit to Get Leads 66-Day Challenge, because I found the same thing, that people really the challenge is that they would have a burst of energy and work real hard and then do a lot of lead generation, and then they would actually have a customer client to work with, and then they'd stop doing those activities that got them there. And then that's how the kind of the roller coaster or the hamster wheel of business came about. So the 5-Minute Success principle is, first of all, that by doing small incremental, people become oftentimes paralyzed or the tsunami of information, and then they don't do anything, right? And I'm sure you're familiar with daily readers, like, a lot of inspirational and religious literature is done in a daily reader. So the 5-Minute Success is a business platform that way. So these principles are first the commit to get leads. So you have to have a lead to have something to do, right? I mean, any salesperson, if you don't have a customer to work with or a client, your job is to go find a customer or client, right? And then you have to take that person through the process. You have to move them along so that there's actually business that takes place, a transaction happens. And then what often happens is these business owners or salespeople, they get kind of stuck on this. They're only as good as their next deal. They wake up and they do it all over again. And instead, what I have found is if you put in the principles of connect, to build, and grow. So you actually create leverage and scale, and you put in the systems, and you put in to create an ongoing business, because that'll get you off that hamster wheel or the roller coaster. And then you've talked about this so much, and this has a lot to do with confidence, but the mindset and motivation of the success, thinking, activities, and vision. So people often will create a vision board, or they'll have it, be inspired about what they want to do, and they'll think about it. They may do the affirmations, but it takes the action, actually making the calls or writing the notes, or, in my business, going to see the houses so you know your inventory. So let
me ask you this. I want to ask you this question, because you said something that I think is huge, that I think it's in no matter what, people don't realize this in business. I think it doesn't matter if you in real estate, if you sell cars, if you sell pastries, whatever you sell, we have a restaurant. A business without any sales is not going to survive.
That's right. It's like oxygen.
Yes, it's like oxygen. And
really
a lot of people that come into the marketplace and open up a business, become an entrepreneur, they don't realize the fact that, hey, your business needs to make some revenue. You need to sell some products and services. If not, it's not going to survive. So I bring that up because you touched on a point. I want you to just really tell us, what's the importance of having a process? Because you said a process. What's the importance of having a sales process in place? Because so many people miss that part, I think.
Well, because for one thing, you'll start to be able to see what's working and you can track it. And, there's always going to be adjustments, right? The market shifts, different buyers and sellers have different needs. And so you're going to have to adjust according to that. But if you have your systems in place, then you can always be, improving and perfecting them. And, I would say that is an ongoing thing. But the thing is if the basic core is there, the principles are in place, then you don't have to rethink every time you do it. And that saves a lot of resources, time, and energy. So you can put focus on creating the value and focus on business development, because many people, I find, they just reinvent the wheel every time, right? And that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Why do you think, if we know that we're supposed to make sales calls, why do you think we don't? What's your thinking behind that? What's your perception?
I think that most of it has to do with rejection. I mean, it's me personally. I feel that as well. And what I have, after thousands of them now, and I still am human, so it's not like I don't take it personally every once in a while, but I think about it as when somebody selects me, then I'm thankful and I'm grateful. When someone doesn't select me, then I recognize the fact that they had a good reason. And I get to choose the reason. And the reason is that it didn't have to do with me. So I don't take it personally. And particularly in residential real estate, I find that many people take it personally. And when things don't go right, they take it personally. And so now that doesn't mean putting up a shield and not having feelings about it. But at the same time, it allows me to then release people to the universe. Because what I find is this energy happens. And when people feel like you're going to be upset because they don't pick you or because something happens, then they start sending this negative energy. And it really does. It's like a magnetic field that repels. Yeah. I find that so many people get bent out of shape over things that I'm like, oh my gosh, just let it go, release it to the universe. And many times it comes back. I've had people say, oh, Karen, I've got to use this person because it's my husband's uncle or whatever. I'm like, that's fine. I understand. You should do what's right for your family. But if anything changes, I'm here for you. And sometimes the husband's uncle turns out to be a disaster and they call me. But I've seen other people, salespeople, who get all bent out of shape out of it. And then when the husband's uncle turns out to be a disaster, they don't want to call you because you're a disaster, right?
Well, I got a confession to make. When I was a younger sales professional, that was me. I used to take it personal, especially when I first started in the car business. Talking about 20 years ago, I'm like, you went and bought a car where? Like, hey, man, like I'm right here.
So did you come to the same conclusion that it's when you release people, then you have a positive energy about you?
Yes. What I realized is one of my managers when I was young, he would tell me, he goes, Daniel, it's okay to lose the battle just as long as you win the war. And what he meant by that was getting all bent out of shape. The customer's not going to come back. But if they happen to go look somewhere else, whatever happens, they buy somewhere else, or maybe they go and they don't find what they want. But if they leave, on a bad note, well, they're never coming back. But if you don't take it personal and you say, well, thank you for giving us an opportunity. What could we have improved on in our customer service, right? Just to find out what the true objection is. Well, then it leaves a door open. But the moment you take it personal and you give them attitude, like you said, they give off that vibe, you give off that aura. We're human beings. We're big magnets. And once you put out that negative magnet and you put out negativity, you're going to get it back. So I love that you're saying that.
And I think that's why you were doing the statistics about why, most agents don't make it. And I think that's why. I think you would probably have the same statistics in car sales or whatever. And so there's a movie, You've Got Mail. And you may remember where Tom Hanks is talking to Meg Ryan about, don't take it personal. It's business. And so what I do is I just kind of give people a grace shield. I'm like, you are under a lot of stress, I can tell. And because of that, you're behaving that way. So if you weren't under a lot of stress, you would be behaving differently. So I'm just going to cover you with grace. And I'm going to send you grace and on your way. And you'd be amazed at how many people come back, Daniel. Because that's attractive, right? People are attracted to that.
I never heard that before, a grace shield. I'm going to start doing that. If we give people a grace shield, so give us a definition of grace shield. I love that. Say that again if you don't mind.
Well, you're just covering them with grace. You're just saying, I can see that there's something going on in your life that it probably has nothing to do with me. That's what I say to myself. That's why I don't take it personally. And I can see there's something going on in your life. And I am going to give you the grace that this is a challenging or hard situation for you.
Yeah.
And that if I'm here for you. And if you truly are there for people, they can tell and they know. And you do that enough and then you get a reputation for that. And then people are attracted to that.
I love that. I call that, it's funny we're talking about this because just the other day, one of my clients, he sent me this text message. So I said, well, you have a choice. You either can take the lower road or you can take the higher road. And if you keep taking the lower road, you're going to keep taking the lower road because that test is going to keep coming your way. So when you said that shield of grace, that's what I call the higher road. When you choose the higher road, the blessing's going to come back either way. So I love the way you said that. So that's awesome. So let me ask you this. I'm talking to you and you're catching me off guard because you're pretty passionate. It sounds like you have some convictions about sale and you really have this conviction and you believe in it. So tell me some about some of your convictions and what drives you just in the sales and in real estate, because you've been very successful, very successful. You sold millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate. That's why I wanted to bring you on here and really give knowledge to some of our audience that really needs this and take some great notes from this episode. So what are your convictions that keep you going when things get tough and maybe you don't want to, or maybe you've had a client that you worked with and all of a sudden they lose their job and next thing you know, you spend 2 months under listing and then the listing falls apart. Talk to us about that. What are Karen's convictions that keep her going every single day?
Well, I do see this as a way to impact and improve people's lives. I look at it as my mission field. I actually had gone to seminary at the Perkins School of Theology at SMU. And I've mentioned this several times, but the buying and selling of a home is almost oftentimes also includes another life event that is very stressful. So I look at that as a mission field. But a few years ago, I recognized that I had done it all, right? I achieved a high level of success. I have a wonderful marriage with my husband over 3 decades with 2 children who are launched and doing well in their lives. And I realized there was something more. And I started down this journey of what I call the creative endeavors. That's when I wanted to do more contribution. And I wrote my books and launched the podcast and had this epiphany that you may remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where there's this pyramid of needs. And at the base is the physical needs. And if you think about COVID-19 and what happened, people went back to their basic needs, right? Toilet paper was like secured, right?
If you could find the toilet paper.
If you could find it. And they were all about their physical needs. And then the safety security needs are the next, basic human needs. And we've seen a lot of that with this, is that people have, there has been a lot of stress related to the economy and people's health. And then you have the relationship needs and the esteem needs, and then self-actualization. And it occurred to me, this was a year and a half ago, that, well, what happens if you keep putting off self-actualization, you keep putting off meaningful work or making a contribution or what you were called to be in life? What if you keep putting it off, like many people wait till they retire, or the kids gets in school, or the kid graduates, or whatever it is that they're waiting for, and you run out of time. And that's where I came up with this. I had this epiphany to flip the pyramid, to flip time, to love your life. Because if you start with self-actualization, then what I found is everything else becomes more meaningful. And I actually have become more successful because I am living the life I was created and designed to live.
I love that. You said something that triggered in my mind is I've been with my wife now 25 years, and it's pretty awesome. And something that we live by for many decades already, because we've been married going on. Actually, it'll be 25 years this summer. And we always say we never need a calendar to remind us that it's Valentine's Day. We never need a calendar to remind us that it's Mother's Day. And we never need a calendar to remind us that it's Father's Day. And what you're saying is you shouldn't need a calendar to tell you to do something special for somebody. So this word is for somebody out there. If you need a calendar to tell you to do something nice for your husband, for your wife, for your children, for your mom and dad, it's time to raise that to another level, because you shouldn't need a calendar to tell you to show that shield of grace, that shield of love to the people around you. Because look at what we're going through. Like you're saying, Karen, it's never promised. And if we don't flip things upside down, we're going to end up saying, if only I had, if only. And
that's the thing, really, truly, Daniel, because what I found is I want to love the life I have right now, right? Now, I also want to create the life of my dreams. So I'm not going to just not look into the future at all, because I believe that we're future people.
Yes.
But we also should be here now, right?
So many of us, I love yes, because too many of us, we focus so much on the future that we don't enjoy the now. And it thinks about that book. One of my the owner of the dealership I used to run, he had a book called The Present. And it's like the present, it really is a present. But how many of us, we never really enjoy the present moment, the present time, that we miss it. Every day we're giving 20,000 moments in life. Every day. And how many times do we miss them? I love what you're saying that.
And I think a lot of people are feeling this now because before a lot of people were saying they were busy, they didn't have enough time, and they're reflecting and actually recognizing that they do have the time. It was that they were choosing, they didn't really want to. There's a quote by Lao Tzu. He said, time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is like saying I don't want to. So it's really caused myself and other people to say, okay, what do I really want in my life?
Yeah. So let's take a shift here. What makes Karen Briscoe distinctive? What makes you distinctive?
Well,
what sets you apart?
I think that, yeah, this whole idea of time. I have really kind of become a time. I didn't set about to become a time guru, but I really started putting a lot of thought and having a lot of conversations with people about time, because I think that our society had been on this busy track, if you will. And what I found is that that it really is energy and focus and not time that is the currency of high performance. And the other thing that I think that is distinctive about me is that I'm, and you probably are familiar with Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. But I find that when I look at my life as a heroine's journey and that it's circular, so I go out on an adventure, maybe it's a calling for contribution or calling for creativity or calling to help people with their real estate needs. And then I meet with obstacles and challenges, but I also meet with mentors and people along the way. And then I come back bearing gifts and I learn something and I grow and I become better than before. And then I go back out again. And that I really feel like the last couple of years of my life, I turned 60 last year. And I am really more excited about life today than ever because I feel like I have so much more to do and to contribute.
Well, you look great, by the way. I would have said you're 45 years old. You wouldn't have told me that.
Wow. Yay. I like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So much wisdom that you just dropped. I've really been enjoying our conversation, and you just have some amazing things that you brought to the surface, just with the whole shield of grace, the fortunes and the follow up. You're just bringing so much wisdom. So I really want you to dig deep down into your hat and leave us with the word of wisdom that our audience can take with them, and they can really just say, I might not remember everything Karen said today, but this is sticking out to me. What's the word of wisdom you want to leave us with, Karen?
Well, so you can love the life you have as you create and co-create the life of your dreams. And if I can do it, you can too.
Wow. Telling you just, man, I love your vibe. I love your energy. And if people want to get a hold of you, tell us the name of your group again, and tell us if they want to know more about Karen Briscoe, where can they find you? And tell us more about your 5-minute before we end this episode.
Yes, 5-minute success is all the number 5-minute success. You can find it on the website and Facebook and Instagram and all the social media handles, as well as the books are available, obviously, on Amazon. And those are Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, Commit to Get Leads, 66-Day Challenge, and Flip Time, Love Life. And real estate is my primary profession, and I'm in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. Metro region. I'm a Keller Williams agent, the HBC group, but you can Google Karen Briscoe, and pretty much I'm the first page. You'll find me.
Woo! Well, there you go. The Daniel Gomez Inspire Show had another amazing guest. So many value bombs just shot today by the one and only Miss Karen Briscoe. Thank you so much for being here. And you heard her word of wisdom. And it just comes to show exactly what she said. success leaves clues. And something that she said really stuck out to me is the fortune's in the follow-up. And don't be scared to be rejected. The moment you stop taking things personal in your life is the moment your life's going to elevate to another level professionally and personally. So stop taking things personal. Go out there and make it happen. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. We'll see you next week. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.